basically, Save the Pine Bush and the Guilderland Coalition for Responsible Growth is extremely pleased at the court decision that makes null and void the entire state environmental quality review process that was done for the proposed apartments on Rapp Road, the Costco site, which we're standing on right now, and the undefined other development east of here. And I think the one thing that's really important to remember is that this decision is 77 pages long. And I've been doing this stuff a long time, and I've never seen a 77-page decision, court decision.
What do you take that to mean?
Well, the judge very carefully read through the record. And the judge was very careful in calling out the mistakes that the planning board made. And in some ways, you could say the court really hammered the planning board for the arbitrary and capricious decision that they made. There are certain quotes in here which are extremely telling. And if you don't mind, I'm going to read a couple of them here for you. So the court said, frankly, the assertion that only a mass retailer is economically viable is absurd on its face. The board's reliance on the project sponsor, that would be Pyramid, self-serving, absurd claim does not rise to the level of a hard look at a reasonable, reduced-scale alternative to mitigate impact. And what that means is the judge is saying that the planning board relied on the project sponsor's self-serving claims and that they did not look at any kind of reasonable alternatives to this proposed project. There are other parts where the court has said, he actually said, and I won't read the entire thing, though it is very interesting, because the judge talks about how that the Costco was proposed in November of 2017, but that this proposal was not disclosed publicly. And so when the transit-oriented district was created, Crossgates actually made a comment about the transit-oriented district. And what Crossgates said is that they said that Crossgates, and this is a direct quote from the case, Crossgates has bought property in the surrounding area and is hoping to build something that is first floor commercial, upper floors residential apartments, perhaps a civic component as well. But that idea that Crossgates said, well, maybe we'll have a civic component to our proposal in this area. The court, in response to that, said, it is evident that Crossgate is not a civic component. On scrutiny, the record is replete with conclusatory, self-serving, and equally troubling representations made by the project sponsor without the support of empirical data, which unfortunately the planning board relied on. And then the judge concludes by saying, this is not the stuff that the State Environmental Quality Review Act hard look test is made of. It's really quite significant. So the court also addressed many issues in terms of the Rapp Road historic community and how no alternatives, the planning board did not consider any alternatives to this massive build on the apartments. They looked at the issue of lead agency status. They looked at, oh my goodness, there's so many issues they looked at. It's a big decision.
Clearly, it seems that the judge thought that Pyramid was trying to shove this thing down your throat.
Oh, yes, I think so. And that the planning board just accepted all this. You know, the planning board just went along with whatever Pyramid said. That's what the planning board relied on. One of the important things that the judge said is that the planning board was that Pyramid would say that their project was within the guidelines of a transit-oriented district. But the judge said just because they're within the guidelines, that doesn't mean that when you do an environmental review, that taking a hard look at it just is like seeing if it's within the guidelines, because you really have to look at the environmental impacts. And that's what the planning board didn't do.
My guess is then that you and so many of these other residents around here thought deeply about how this project would have impacted your lives, your quality of living. Can you elaborate on that a little bit if this decision had gone the other direction?
Oh, absolutely. For Save the Pine Bushes point of view, preserving and protecting the pine bush is extremely important to us. And this would have had quite an impact on the cardinal blue butterfly, on the various species, including bats and birds and all kinds of species, amphibians, reptiles, snakes, all that in the pine bush. And we're very concerned that if they build those apartments and they build the Costco, the impact on the pine bush. And for the residents, I should probably let a resident speak to that issue, but clearly building a massive development here. I mean, this is was a community of single-family housing. To build this massive Costco with the tremendous amount of traffic would have had a huge impact. And with the apartments, so that's near Westmere Terrace. Now those apartments are 5 stories high. 5 stories high. What kind of privacy do people have when you have a 5-story building next to you that can look into your yard, and the lights at night, and the visual impact, and all of those things were not analyzed in the environmental impact statement.
Do you view this decision as a small decision? Is there a possibility for appeal? Is there a possibility of altering the plans?
Well, of course, Pyramid can always appeal the decision, but when I look at the detail and the arguments and the decision that the judge makes, it's very hard for me to see how Pyramid could possibly get on an appeal. I would say that this development is done. They need to go back to the drawing board. And Save the Pine Bush is very good. Save the Pine Bush and the Guilderland Coalition for Responsible Growth. We are very concerned about people, economic development, loss of people's jobs and things like that. This pandemic has been very, very hard on anyone. But we don't think that this development would have helped economically at all. We think that what we really need to do, and what Pyramid really needs to do, is rethink their mall itself. I mean, they're losing tenants all over the place. The mall is, they got problems. They've asked the town to reduce their taxes by 50%. And when you think about that, they really need to build, if they want to build something, let them build it where they've already destroyed the pine bush, on the asphalt they already have. And they really need to rethink it, because that's the kind of economic growth that would benefit people.
So then what becomes of this land we're looking at right now?
Well, Pyramid still owns it, but they can't really do anything with it right now. So they'd have to have another proposal or something. Or perhaps they would do the right thing and donate it to the Pine Bush Preserve, which I think is the best option.
Thank you, Lynn.
I'm happy along with my wife and one other of our neighbors from Westmere Terrace. One of our concerns was Pyramid years ago created this ghost town. Okay, they created this ghost town, buying up all the property and everything here. All right, including houses that were here. They bought these, and we've been concerned that that's what was going to happen with Westmere Terrace, because it's the last residential area before commercial property. When they were building the hotel down the road, all of the residents on Westmere Terrace received a letter from a real estate agency looking to buy our property for people that were going to be working at the hotel. Of course, we all didn't fall into it, and we knew exactly what was going on. Pyramid actually ended up buying one of the houses down at the end of our street, okay, to move the project forward as far as the
Tom, presumably you didn't know, you probably didn't know which way this judge was going to decide. I would imagine it's kind of nerve-wracking, the amount of uncertainty leading up to this point.
Oh yeah, sure. It's like this has been going on for us, for a good 2 years, and at least 2 years, and you just don't know from day to day, and we're concerned about our property values. We're concerned about a lot of things. And, in the decision that came down, the judge really looked into everything. He delved into everything. He knew, you know, what he was looking for, the errors that were made by the town, all right? The building of Costco here that doesn't promote the TOD, you know, the TOD. Things like this, right? And they were just trying to group everything together. I from the start of it felt that there was too much underhanded things going on with the planning board and with Pyramid, and the judge saw that. And in his decision, there were a lot of things that he had mentioned about it that were in error and should not have been done, but they did anyways.
I wonder if you think that was incompetence, or if they just thought that this was a shoo-in and they just got the wrong judge.
Yeah, no, I mean, let's put it this way. I think they were hoping that they would get this all through, and they felt that this was going to be the best thing for the town of Guilderland. However, a lot of people don't. There are people that, you know, are in favor of it. I'm not in favor of it. I have nothing against Costco. I just don't want to build here. I don't want them as my next door neighbor. I don't want gas stations right here. All right? You know, there's too much of an environmental impact that I'm concerned about.
Are you concerned that this might not be a final decision, that there could be some appeals that don't go your way?
I think, I'm sure they'll definitely appeal it. There could be some changes to it, but I don't think, overall, I don't really believe that there would be enough for another judge to turn it, you know, to turn it over.
And if you think about it, this is kind of incredible. It's almost like a David versus Goliath, a group of grassroots people going up against a huge corporation, and you guys, at least at this level, succeeded.
Right. You know, and that's one thing that, you know, we can all feel proud of. You know, it's like a small group of people, and I mean, we're small compared to what everybody else has. And yes, we went against them and we won. You know, and you know, I thank our attorney, Jim Bacon, who really looked into everything. And even with the judge, with his decision, there were so many cases that he cited in his decision. So this has happened before in other places. Okay, so you know, he really knew what he was looking for, and he really knew how to handle it.
Was this expensive? You guys had to pay that attorney?
I'd really rather not get into that.
Yeah.
No.
We don't twist arms.
Yeah.
Okay, but you won, and that's what counts.
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Hopefully we can get some pictures before it gets too dark.
Yeah, it's like our next thing right now is to fight to get this cleaned up.
Yeah.
You know, because they created it, now they've got to do something with it. It can't just stay an eyesore.
Yeah.
You know, and even the houses here, it's like something has to be done. You know.
So are many of these vacant?
Oh, they're all vacant.
They're all vacant.
They're all vacant. There's one down at the end that is still occupied, and this lady right here, she's the only one that lives there. She's 91 years old and she's scared to death. And I just gave her a big relief. I walked up and told her that we had won, and so she's happy. So, yeah.
What you're saying is that